Hello there, and welcome to Dreamy Science. I'm so glad you're here. Maybe the day still echoes, a little bright, a little loud, but now you've arrived at something gentler, something older than memory, yet still unfolding. Tonight, we drift beneath shimmering veils of color, the northern lights, not as a spectacle, but as a lullaby in the sky. These lights don't rush. They ripple, they breathe, they speak in greens and violets and soft, magnetic songs. We'll follow them from polar skies to solar winds, through myths and magnetism, all the way into the hush between particles and light. There's nothing you need to know, just rest, just drift. And if these calm journeys soothe your mind, consider liking and subscribing. It helps more quiet minds find their way here, one sleepy soul at a time. Perfect. Here are the first 5 extended segments, each 250 words, beginning with the opening paragraph you've provided for each. High above, in the polar night, the sky sometimes speaks without words. It moves in light, quiet greens, and slow purples, like a hush across the stars. And that hush can last for hours, not loud, not dazzling, just present, like the breath of the atmosphere slowed down into silk. When solar winds brush Earth's magnetic veil, the upper air glows with particles set softly alight. It's not heat, but energy shared in silence. You don't hear it, you feel it. A kind of stillness that carries motion, a kind of glow that carries memory. The aurora is not there to impress you. It doesn't ask for applause. It unfolds whether you're watching or not. Even when clouds cover it, it goes on, curling, stretching, resting above the weather. To see it is to witness the planet exhale. To miss it is to dream beneath a sky still alive. Imagine lying beneath this slow sky, the world wrapped in indigo. A whisper arcs across the horizon. Not a sound, but a color, rising and falling. The stars blink behind it. The trees stay still. And you simply breathe. Inhale with the light. Exhale into stillness. The sky does not need to shout. It speaks in violet and green, in lines that shimmer and fade. And tonight, you are listening in the oldest way, by being still. You don't have to chase it. You are already under it, a sky that glows like breath, soft and slow. Even now, as you close your eyes, the aurora may be moving above you. In places where the air is cold, the land is quiet, and night lasts longer than day. There's no need to run north or wait for alerts. The same particles that lit up Viking skies drift here too. The aurora is not always visible, but it's always near, part of the Earth's breath, part of its hush. You are already in the aurora's world, resting beneath its silent umbrella. Drifting beneath it is like lying under a dream that doesn't need to be understood. The sky moves slowly, like water in reverse, not falling down, but flowing up and out, soft, like ink in paper or candlelight stretched thin. Beneath it, your thoughts loosen. You don't have to know why or how, just that you are safe, that the sky, in this moment, is holding you without weight. Breathe in. Let the glow, even unseen, hold its place above you. Somewhere, green ribbons fold into themselves. Somewhere, purple edges reach down like fingers of dusk. And here, where you lie, all of it passes through you, like a story retold in light. There's no chase tonight, only drift, only softness. The aurora is not out there. It's already around you. Far from Earth, the sun breathes outward in all directions. This solar wind, invisible, restless, carries seeds of light toward our world. It begins with fusion, deep in the sun's core, energy born in silence, pressing outward. That energy rises, scattering light, then particles. These particles, electrons and protons, slip past the sun's surface and into the dark, carried on magnetic tides. For millions of miles, they wander space, not like a storm, but like a slow breeze made of stars. Solar wind is not hot to the touch. It doesn't sing or spark, but when it arrives, it changes everything. Earth is not the only one it touches. Every planet, every moon, every rock in the system feels the breath of our star, yet Earth alone answers in color. Our field captures it. Our atmosphere listens. The wind doesn't rush. It may take days to reach us, depending on the sun's mood, but it always comes, a gentle stream from a distant fire, and as you lie here, you are connected to that flow. The breath of the sun, older than every mountain, more constant than every tide, glances off Earth's shield and lights up the sky. The aurora begins not in the poles, but in the heart of the sun, so rest easy. The story begins far away, but it ends here, above you, around you, and inside the quiet air you breathe. The earth catches that solar wind, not with walls, but with fields. Magnetic arms curve around the planet, guiding the particles home. This field is invisible, but it is always present. Born in the molten swirl of Earth's spinning core, it stretches outward into space like a silent umbrella, shaping the path of the solar wind. When that wind arrives, it does not crash into us. Instead, it's cradled, deflected, rerouted. It wraps around the planet in arcs and curves, sweeping toward the poles. There, where the magnetic field dips closer to Earth's surface, the aurora begins to form, not in battle, but in meeting, not in fire, but in warmth. This field protects us, but it also invites beauty. It does not stop the particles. It welcomes them gently home. Imagine lines of force, flowing like threads. They're not hard or sharp. They're fluid, flexible, like rivers of magnetism that shape the color to come. Without this field, the wind would scatter us. With it, we glow. As you rest, feel the weightlessness of this shield. It does not press down. It holds space. The space around you, the space within. The same field that redirects storms from the sun also shapes the compass in your hand. The same magnetism that guides animals across oceans guides particles into the aurora. There is a kind of love in this quiet redirection, a kind of shelter in the unseen. Tonight, you are safe inside it. When particles from the sun meet Earth's atmosphere, something gentle happens. A spark, a shimmer, a quiet dialogue written in light. It's not loud, it's not violent. Just two worlds brushing softly, the charged particles from above, the calm molecules of our ski. And in that meeting, energy is released. Oxygen and nitrogen light up, not because they must, but because they can. The glow is not forced, it's offered, a reply to a long journey. Every color is a word in that conversation. Green, the most familiar, comes from oxygen around 100 kilometers up. Red, higher still. Violet and blue from nitrogen lower down. Together, they say something the Earth has always known how to say. Welcome. And the particles, after their long flight, answer in brightness, not to be seen, but simply to complete the loop. A message sent, a message received. You don't need to translate it. Just witness. Just let the glow pass over your skin, even if only in memory. The aurora is a language older than speech. It's the Earth's way of singing back to the sun. And as you drift tonight, that same language is being spoken above you, not in sound, in shimmer, in slow movement, in color and hush. Let yourself become part of that exchange. Let your breath fall into rhythm with the sky. The conversation continues, soft, luminous, and infinite. Here are the requested expanded segments, each now softly extended to 250 words while preserving your original first paragraph and meditative tone. In the north, aurora borealis. In the south, aurora australis. Mirror dances on opposite ends of the world. The earth breathes light from both lungs, a glow in the Arctic, a shimmer in the Antarctic. Though they are divided by oceans and continents, they share the same sky, mirrored in opposite poles. These twin auroras rise from the same solar wind, shaped by the same magnetic rhythm, as if the planet in sleep dreams in symmetry. The northern lights swirl across tundra and taiga, while their southern siblings drift above icy shelves and endless sea. You are part of this balance, your body warmed by the same sun that feeds both ends of Earth's glow. Imagine lying beneath the northern veil, while on the other side of the world, the same light moves in perfect echo. As one whispers, green across Norway's horizon, the other hums its reply over Antarctica's skies. They are not separate performances, but a duet. The poles sing together in silence, invisible to each other, yet bound by magnetism and motion. You are cradled in the space between. So rest between these two gentle dancers. The planet spins slowly beneath their glow, and tonight, as the auroras stretch like ribbons across each pole, you are held between reflections, soft, silent, and still. Most auroras glow green, not by choice, but by chemistry. Oxygen high in the atmosphere sings in this soft emerald key. It's the color of calm meadows and deep ocean shallows, but here it floats in the sky like a breath held aloft when the particles from the sun drift into Earth's magnetic arms. They meet oxygen at about 100 kilometers up. This oxygen doesn't shout, it hums, glowing green with a soft persistence, not a blaze, but a gentle hush, a luminous sigh. The sky doesn't flare suddenly, it builds slowly, a gauze of emerald mist that deepens and moves. It ripples like silk caught in windless air. Green is the aurora's lullaby, the most common voice in its celestial choir, not because it's loudest, but because it lingers. And as you lie still beneath it, that same frequency finds your breath. You might not see it tonight, but it's there, always possible, always waiting in the upper hush of the world. So let this gentle green carry you. Let it fold around your thoughts like moss on stone. It doesn't matter that you're far from the poles. The story still reaches you. The light still hums, just on the edge of dreaming. Sometimes the glow turns red. It comes from even higher up, where the air is thin and ancient. Oxygen burns quietly. These are the auroras that seem older somehow, slow, soft, and strange. They live above the green, farther from Earth's surface, in a colder, lonelier layer of sky. Red light doesn't dance fast. It drifts, a slow-motion bloom that stains the sky, like a thought too quiet to finish. Oxygen at this height glows red only when kissed gently by low-energy particles. It doesn't flare as often, and when it does, it's like a secret, faint, delicate, a blush across the night. This red is not the red of fire or warning. It's the red of aged light, of memories drifting. You might never see one, but the sky remembers them, and sometimes, when conditions align, the heavens unfurl a scarlet hush above the green. As you breathe now, imagine that distant layer above the world, high, thin, untouched. There, red waits patiently, glowing without need for notice. Let your thoughts rise to meet it, slow and easy, like air thinning, like silence becoming color. At the lowest edges, you may catch violets or blues. Nitrogen joins the chorus here, adding cool shades to the palette. While oxygen sings above, nitrogen hums below. These colors, faint, fleeting, appear near the bottom of the auroral curtain, curving around like the hem of a dream. Blue glows with electric calm, and violet slips between visibility and imagination. They do not stay long, but when they arrive, they lend the aurora its deepest breath. Nitrogen glows in purples and blues only when the aurora reaches low into thicker air. These moments are rare. Like the sky leaning in closer, the light folds downward, brushes the edge of the horizon, and paints its quiet boundary. It's a cooler tone, like twilight submerged in deep ocean. If green is the voice, violet is the whisper. If red is memory, blue is breath. Tonight, even if you cannot see them, imagine these cool tones wrapping the aurora's base, as if the lights are wearing a robe stitched from deep night. Sink beneath that robe. Let the violet fringe of the sky gather around you. Sleep beneath its border. Rest inside its hush. Auroras trace magnetic field lines, invisible paths above the poles. They dance where the Earth's shield is most open. Though you cannot see them, the planet is wrapped in structure. Magnetic lines arc and bend from pole to pole, forming a shield that guards us from solar storm. These lines aren't straight. They're loops and curves, flowing like rivers above the clouds. And auroras follow them. They don't appear just anywhere. They unfold along these magnetic corridors, openings where particles slip in and righten light. It's like watching wind move through tall grass. Except the wind is space itself, and the grass is made of sky. The aurora knows these pathways. It doesn't wander. It flows, guided by the invisible geometry of Earth's magnetic field, a dance choreographed by unseen hands. And you, resting now, are beneath that field, wrapped in it, protected by it, the same shield that curves around astronauts, satellites, and oceans now curves gently over you. Let your breath follow those lines. Slow arcs, gentle curves, invisible paths of rest that carry light, and now carry you. Earth is wrapped in magnetism, a magnetic field born from its molten heart, stretching far beyond the sky. This field isn't something you see or feel, yet it shapes nearly everything around you. It curves outward in great sweeping arcs, reaching tens of thousands of kilometers into space, forming a protective cocoon that shelters Earth from the solar wind. Deep beneath your feet, liquid iron moves in slow, molten currents, generating an invisible architecture that surrounds the entire planet. It is a shield, a guide, a silent structure that holds back cosmic storms with effortless grace. This magnetic field bends the paths of charged particles, steering them away, drawing some toward the poles, shaping the auroras you're learning to drift beneath. As you rest, imagine these lines of force, countless soft threads weaving outward, meeting space, returning home. They never stop flowing, they never break. They ripple gently with each solar breath, adjusting, responding, holding. You are always inside this quiet fortress, even now, cocooned in its calm. Birds navigate by it. Whales feel its drift. Ancient explorers steered their way across oceans because of it. And here you are, wrapped in the same subtle structure, safe within its reach. Let yourself settle deeper. The world is not just rock and water. It is magnetism, humming softly around you, older than mountains, steady as sleep, not circles, not stripes, ovals, soft shapes that drift across the poles like glowing halos. These auroral ovals hover above the planet, rotating gently as Earth turns beneath them. They aren't fixed or rigid. They breathe, expanding and contracting as the solar wind strengthens or fades. When the sun sends a stronger stream of particles, the ovals widen, stretching outward into lower latitudes. When the night grows calm again, they pull back, contracting like the slow heartbeat of the sky. From space, astronauts see them clearly, great rings of color curled around each pole, shimmering like cosmic crowns. Down here on the ground, you witness only a portion of this halo, a single glowing arc across your horizon. But overhead, the entire structure hums quietly, moving with the planet's rotation. These ovals never truly disappear, even when the sky looks dark. They persist on the edge of visibility, waiting for enough energy to bloom into the colors you recognize. Imagine this halo drifting above you tonight, not demanding, not bright, just present, a soft curve of light shaped by magnetism and wind. Let yourself drift with it. The world turns beneath a constant glowing outline, and you are lying inside its gentle loop, resting in the turning of the earth. In dark winters, under frozen air, the aurora blooms, cold clears the skies, and waiting brings the glow. In the far north, where nights stretch long and the air sharpens into crystal, the sky becomes a canvas for light. Cold settles over mountains and forests, pressing the air into clarity. Stars sharpen, horizons deepen, and the aurora gains room to unfold. This is its season, not by superstition, but by the stillness winter brings, the absence of moisture, the quiet of frozen landscapes, the long uninterrupted night. All of it invites the aurora to show itself in full. People who live in these regions know the rhythm well: layers of clothing, patient breathing, a slow gaze toward the horizon. The colder the night, the more the sky opens, until it becomes a vast waiting mirror for the light above. And in this silence, the aurora often arrives without warning, a soft glow at first, then a sweep of green above the tree line. The cold doesn't push you away, it draws you into stillness. As you rest now, imagine frost settling on a calm landscape, the world hushed and unmoving. The air becomes glass, your breath becomes mist, and above you, the sky slowly stirs, blooming in colors meant not to wake you, but to lull you deeper. Some say they hear them, faint whispers, gentle rustles. Science isn't sure, but sleep knows how to listen. These sounds, if they exist, are not loud. They're said to be the softest crackles, like distant static, or the brushing of silk against snow. Theories whisper that charged particles interacting with the ground or the atmosphere might create tiny electrical noises. Others believe the sounds come from within us, the brain interpreting light as sensation, blending vision and imagination. Whether real or imagined, these whispers add a deeper quiet to the aurora's presence. People who've heard them describe the experience not as sound, but as a feeling, a moment when the sky seems alive in more than color, a moment when the light touches the air in ways science hasn't fully written down. But you don't need to hear anything tonight. Just knowing that some have felt the aurora speak is enough. The idea itself is a lullaby. Imagine the sky rustling softly as ribbons of green fold and unfold. Imagine a faint electric hush that never rises above a breath. Whether the sound is real doesn't matter. The quiet is, and you are lying inside it now, listening with the part of you that doesn't need proof to rest. Sometimes they ripple like streams. Other times they burst like fountains made of light. The aurora isn't one thing, it's many moods, each shaped by the flow of the solar wind. Some nights, the sky drapes itself in long curtains that sway gently like the ocean's surface after a calm tide. Other nights, the lights leap upward, streaking in pillars that rise like glowing waterfalls. Sometimes they twist, curling like the edges of a flame. Sometimes they descend in waves, as if the sky is breathing downward into the world. Each movement is guided not by weather, but by the invisible choreography of magnetism. You watch, and the shapes shift without warning. Slow one moment, quick the next, a dance between earth and sun, written in color. As you drift, imagine these flows moving above you, green streams that ripple over the horizon, violet arcs bursting upward like quiet fireworks. None of it rushes. Even the fast motions feel soft, as if time thickens around them. Let these shapes guide your breath, rising like a fountain, falling like a stream. Light becomes water, water becomes sky, and you float in the gentle movement between them. Not all auroras are steady. Some throb gently like a sleeping pulse written in color, a faint rhythm that pulses across the sky, not random, but patterned. These pulses are called pulsating auroras, and they often appear after the main wave of light has passed, lingering like the afterbreath of a dream. Their glow flickers, pauses, and returns like the beat of a slow, celestial heart. The sky does not always need to blaze to be alive. Sometimes it only needs to breathe. These gentle pulses are not loud or bold. They are quiet, ghost-like, and hypnotic. They fade in and out without a clear pattern, and yet the body feels something ancient in their rhythm, something familiar. Scientists believe these pulses are connected to complex interactions between the Earth's magnetic field and waves of energy from the sun, but you don't need to know the physics to feel their softness. You only need to look up to watch the light swell and rest, as if the sky itself has settled into a steady slumber, a heart made of particles and light, a rhythm meant not to alarm, but to calm. And tonight, as you lie beneath the dark sky, even if only in memory or imagination, you can let that rhythm guide your own. Let your breath follow the aurora's quiet heartbeat, in and out, in and out. There is no need to hurry. Even the sky takes its time to glow. Long arcs stretch, then fracture. Ribbons of violet and emerald slide across the dark like soft, torn silk. They curve and ripple, not in straight lines, but in long, draping folds, like fabric caught in a wind that doesn't exist. These ribbons are the aurora's wildest expression, sharp and fluid, bright and swift. Sometimes they twist into braids, other times they spiral like dancers, mid-turn, light unraveling from a single thread. It's as if the sky has remembered how to move, how to spin stories in color. In some places, they fan out across the horizon, a veil of parallel lines that shift and blur like watercolor on glass. In others, they curl tight, layered like petals of a glowing flower. What causes this splintering? Particles from the sun, guided by Earth's magnetic field, collide with gases high above, and the energy spills out in waves. Where the flow is fastest or more concentrated, the light stretches thin, like threads drawn through a loom. But you don't need to trace the science. Let your mind drift instead to the image, a sky made of silk and electricity, torn not in violence but in softness, as if each line is a memory unspooling. Tonight, you are floating beneath a sky that forgets rigidity, a sky that loosens, breaks into beauty, and continues drifting. Let your thoughts follow. Let them stretch and soften like ribbons on the breeze. There is no need to hold them tight. When sunspots flare, the sky responds. Solar storms reach out, and the aurora answers. These storms begin on the sun, often far from our gaze. There, tangled magnetic fields erupt suddenly, like sparks snapping from a fire. They send waves of particles hurtling through space, silent but swift. Sometimes these waves travel for days before reaching Earth, but when they do, the results can be spectacular. The aurora brightens, expands, and intensifies, as if awakened from slumber by a distant signal. These bursts are not common, but when they come, they ignite the atmosphere with unusual force. Lights dance farther, faster, and with deeper colors. In those moments, the sky is a mirror for the sun's invisible breath. Sunspots themselves are cooler regions on the solar surface, dark patches that shift and twist like slow-moving storms. When they become especially active, they often herald something larger: a coronal mass ejection, a release of solar wind on an enormous scale. The Earth's magnetic field shields us from the storm's force, but it cannot silence the light, and so the aurora flares, a luminous reply to a solar whisper that traveled millions of miles. Tonight, you rest far from such violence, wrapped in calm, but above you, echoes of sun-born storms flicker in color. Even now, while the world sleeps, the stars and our sun continue their quiet dialogue. You are safe inside their story. Let the sky speak softly through you. Let light be the only sound you need. Rarely, during fierce solar storms, they stretch beyond the poles. Even warm lands have seen their quiet fire. There are records, rare and scattered, of auroras shimmering over deserts, jungles, and oceans near the equator. Places where the night is usually calm and clear, untouched by polar winds. When the storms from the sun are strong enough, they push the auroral oval outward, expanding the glow far beyond its usual home. In these moments, people in unlikely places look up and see the sky lit with strange color, unfamiliar and hushed. Imagine standing in a warm land, barefoot in the grass or sand, and seeing a green veil unfurl across the heavens. It feels like a gift, like something sacred wandered too far and chose to stay a while. The sky glowing with polar memory. For those who live near the equator, this is a rare kind of wonder, a once-in-a-lifetime encounter. And for the Earth, it is a reminder that energy does not stay within lines, that beauty moves with force and freedom. Tonight, as you lie still, imagine that rare sight, auroras, in a place that never expected them, like dreams visiting unfamiliar minds. Let that image carry you, the idea that even where you least expect it, light can bloom. That wonder does not always follow the rules, and in your own quiet storm, something beautiful may arrive, glowing, drifting, unexpected. Above the glow, machines orbit in silence. They pass through tides of charged particles, bathed in unseen light. Satellites, like floating eyes, circle the Earth not just for communication or observation, but as quiet witnesses to space weather. They move through invisible currents, through the stormy seas of our planet's magnetosphere. When solar storms arrive, these satellites experience a world transformed, not in flames or turbulence, but in fields and flows of energy. Their sensors twitch, their circuits feel the pressure, and still, they continue their journey, carving smooth arcs across the ionized night. From space, the aurora is not a distant curtain on the horizon. It is a crown, a ring of fire encircling the poles. Cameras aboard these silent craft have captured the view, a glowing halo swirling around the Earth, like a luminous wreath. And in that view, we remember that our planet is not separate from the cosmos. It is bathed in it, cradled by it. The satellites may not dream, but we do. And in our sleep, we can imagine riding alongside them, drifting just above the aurora, watching it spill beneath us like a sea of green and violet clouds. Let that image hold you now. You are not grounded. You are drifting in silence among the watchers. Let the charged air lull you like waves against a gentle hull. There is no rush, just the quiet orbit of thought and rest. Physicists use words like arcs, bands, rays, but even these feel too sharp. The sky moves more like fabric, like tides of breath. The labels try to catch motion in a net of names, but the aurora resists. It slips through language the way wind escapes a fist. An arc isn't just an arc. It's a slow sweep, a painted stroke across the polar dark. A band isn't just a line. It folds, it fades, it dances. Rays aren't rigid. They shimmer like strings, plucked by silence. Scientists try to describe what they see, but the sky has its own poetry. Shapes change before a sentence can hold them. Some nights, they unfold like fans. Other times, they rise like breath from a sleeping forest. Even when still, there's a rhythm to them, a pulse, a sigh. So we reach for softer language, not charts, but metaphors, not maps, but music. The lights don't draw, they whisper, they don't stay, they drift. And in that drifting, they write their own kind of story. You watch, knowing there are terms for this, but none that feel quite right. You feel instead, and that's enough. Shapes that are too delicate to be named, movements that don't ask for explanation. Just a sky that bends and sways like water in zero gravity, glowing at the edge of understanding. Let your thoughts move the same way, undefined, quiet, beautiful. There is no need to name everything. Tonight, even science speaks in lullabies. Imagine a velvet curtain, glowing softly, falling slowly from nowhere. That's how the lights sometimes move, not like fire, but like memory. They don't rush, they descend, wave upon wave, without sound, without edge. No footsteps, no announcement, just the sky exhaling. The curtain flickers, and in its folds you see layers, color upon color, drifting one after another, as if time itself is peeling gently open. These curtains are wide and tall, silent as snowfall, glowing from within as though they remember every sunrise they've ever outshone. They ripple not with wind, but with magnetism, the invisible brush of Earth's field, touching charged particles from the sun. And when they fall, it's like breath turning into light. You watch them shimmer, delicate and strange, and it feels like watching a dream learn how to become real. You reach out in your mind, not to hold them, but to feel closer to something that isn't meant to be held. The world grows hushed beneath their descent. Even thoughts quiet themselves, because what you're seeing isn't just light. It's a gesture, a slow unfurling of grace. Let that stillness enter you now. No noise, no pressure. Just the curtain falling again and again, as if the universe is bowing without asking for applause. A light show made of memory, a performance without beginning or end. And you, the quiet witness, resting where silence meets the sky. Twisting patterns unfold above you. They spin, not in chaos, but in magnetized grace, spirals that seem to bloom like galaxies in miniature, not vast and distant, but just above your head. These are not random swirls. They are lines of force made visible, shaped by Earth's magnetic embrace. The particles follow paths too complex to track, yet what you see feels simple, soft, mesmerizing. Each spiral is a conversation between the sun and our planet, written in curves and motion. The lights trace the unseen skeleton of space, like dancers following steps only they understand. They don't hurry. They unwind slowly, like thoughts before sleep, curling inward and outward at once. Some spin like seashells made of color. Others stretch out like a galaxy's arm, reaching across the sky with glowing fingers. And sometimes, for a moment, they pause, a spiral held mid-twist, as if deciding where to go next. You lie beneath them, cradled by the earth, looking up into something that doesn't speak, but still communicates. There is no noise, yet you feel its presence like music with no sound. The sky isn't just lit, it's choreographed, and each spiral, each turn, is a lullaby spun from magnetism. Let your mind follow one now. Let it twist gently into your thoughts. Let it guide you in quiet circles. There is no center you need to reach, just motion, just glow, just the slow spiral of night, soft and infinite, quiet, then sudden bloom. A substorm erupts, fast energy, then flowing rest. For a moment, the sky forgets its calm. Charged particles rush in, accelerated by the dance between solar wind and magnetic field. They meet the atmosphere in a flash, a burst, a shimmer too swift to expect. It's not a thunderstorm. It doesn't roar. It flares. It flutters. The darkness deepens, then ignites with pulsing lines, a quiet blink of brilliance. You might not even notice at first. It can happen in the time it takes to blink, to shift a thought. But when you do, it feels like witnessing a breath held too long, finally exhaled. And just as suddenly, the lights settle, like a wave after cresting, a glow after flaring. The substorm becomes memory, but it leaves traces, glowing echoes, ripples of color still fading back into the hush. The beauty of a substorm is not in how long it stays, but in how suddenly it arrives, how quietly it leaves, and how it reminds you that even the stillest sky holds surprise. Let that rhythm soothe you now. Let go, then bloom, rest, then glow. No need to prepare, no need to control. You are watching space breathe, a sudden spark, then silence, a luminous sigh that knows how to pause. And beneath it, you lie still, wrapped in the aftermath of wonder. Gentle and restless. Not a fire, but something that remembers what fire felt like. The lights flicker as if lit by wind, though no wind touches them. They rise and fade, flare and dim in a rhythm that doesn't follow any clock. This flickering isn't frantic, it's thoughtful, like a candle deep in meditation. You can almost imagine the aurora, recalling old flames, the heat of stars, the breath of solar flares, the silent burn of atoms colliding in space. But it is no longer heat, it is light, softened into grace. These flickers are messages, quiet Morse code from the cosmos. Not urgent, not loud, just reminders that energy doesn't need to shout to be seen. You lie back, eyes half-lidded, letting the soft pulses wash over your thoughts. They don't demand attention, they offer invitation. Each flicker says, you're here, you're safe, you're watching something that moves like sleep itself, present, shifting, never still, always soft. The flames you see hold no danger, only memory, only motion. So let yourself flicker too. Let your breath move in gentle waves. Let your mind dim and glow, rise and rest, like a thought dreaming of another thought. The lights above aren't fire, but they carry its echo, not in heat, but in rhythm. And tonight, they burn only for beauty, only for peace. Let them flicker within you. Let them light the quiet corners of your rest. The auroras are not just one glowing veil, they are many, layered like whispers in the air. As charged particles from the sun dive into Earth's atmosphere, they don't fall all at once or in one place. They meet different gases at different altitudes, and each interaction tells a new color story. High above, oxygen glows a gentle red, quiet and stretched thin where space begins. Farther down, that same oxygen shimmers green, the color most often seen, dancing like breath across the sky. Deeper still, nitrogen sometimes blushes, purple or blue, adding depth to the auroral curtain. These layers do not compete. They blend, fold, ripple into each other. They move with the wind, with magnetic waves, with silence, and like layers of fabric caught in a slow motion breeze, they create a kind of living painting above us, a vertical symphony of invisible forces made visible. As you lie back and imagine these heights, picture the sky not as empty, but as rich and full, filled with stories written in color. You are not under a single light. You are beneath a layered lullaby, each hue, each height, a verse in the atmosphere's quiet song. Let it sing you softly inward now, one layer at a time. 100 kilometers above your head, something unseen begins to bloom. It's beyond the reach of storms, far above even the tallest clouds, a place where the air thins and the winds forget how to stir. Here, a delicate reaction begins. Particles from the sun, having traveled millions of miles, finally meet the Earth's atmosphere. And in that meeting, they spark, not in fire, but in light. It's here that oxygen first begins to glow green, the green most people recognize in auroras, soft, wavering, like silk draped across the sky, is born in this high, fragile place. And yet, for all its height and mystery, this glow arrives without sound, without smoke, without warning. It simply begins, a shimmer, a thread of color in the dark. From the ground, it may seem near, just above the treetops, like a dream you could almost touch, but in truth, it is far away, almost in space. The distance between you and that first glow is vast, yet somehow it feels close, as if it knows your breath, as if it listens for your stillness. So now, close your eyes. Picture that green light beginning its slow unfurling, alone in the quiet high air. No thunder, no roar, just glow, a soft greeting from the edge of space as you drift higher in your thoughts, far beyond mountaintops, past the ceiling of clouds. You'll arrive in a realm where the sky becomes thin and the earth loosens its grip. At over 500 kilometers up above the blue, beyond the domain of weather, something strange happens. The auroras take on a new voice. Here, the oxygen molecules are rarer, their dance is slower, more spread apart. But when they glow red, not like fire, not like alarm, but like memory, a soft, lingering red that stays in the sky long after the green has faded. It's not always visible from below, only during certain nights, in certain places, and only if you know where to look. This red glow doesn't ripple as fast. It hangs, as if the sky is holding its breath, as if the atmosphere is remembering something. In this silent height, space begins to whisper. Satellites pass through, gravity loosens, the boundary blurs, and in that blur, this red light paints a final layer to the aurora's lullaby. If green is the breath, then red is the sigh, a slow exhale of light from the edge of our world. Let yourself float there in thought, where the air is thin and time feels wide. Let the red linger in your mind, like a final candle before sleep. The auroras do not belong to one world alone. They are born from the breath of the sun and sculpted by Earth's magnetic field. They live in the space between. Not quite sky, not quite space. Imagine this: charged particles racing from the sun, guided by magnetic lines that curve gently toward the poles, funneled into the high atmosphere like a cosmic stream. There they meet the Earth, and in their meeting, they light up the edge. They are handshakes between realms, glows at the gateway. The auroras begin high, where air fades into vacuum, where Earth begins to forget itself and space begins to form. In this liminal place, the lights draw invisible maps. They trace the shape of magnetism. They sketch where gravity ends. They show, without saying, how connected we are to the wider cosmos. Every flicker, every wave is a reminder. You are not separate. You are standing on a world that is part of a system, not just orbiting a star, but dancing with it. So tonight, when you imagine the aurora, picture it not as something above you, but something around you, a veil at the border of Earth and infinity, part home, part beyond. Let that border hold you now, not in walls, but in wonder. Every aurora is a one-night story. The sun may send a familiar wind, the earth may stand in the same tilt, but what unfolds above is always different. Tiny changes in solar speed, in magnetic field shape, in atmosphere density ripple into new patterns, colors, rhythms. The sky is a composer with an endless songbook, never repeating a stanza exactly. One night, the lights may fall in broad, slow curtains, green and gentle, like seaweed in still water. Another night, sharp spirals may bloom and vanish in seconds, like sparks in reverse. Sometimes, red glows stretch low. Sometimes, violet threads flicker along the horizon, like quiet laughter. Even in the same place, even in the same week, no aurora tells the same tale. They are fingerprints of magnetism, dreams woven in plasma, and because they never repeat, watching them is like listening to a lullaby whispered only once, then gone. As you drift into rest, know that this night, whatever sky it holds, is entirely its own. You are seeing something no one has seen before, a shape, a motion, a color that will never quite return. The sky is writing just for you, just now, and you too are unrepeatable. A soft mind beneath a one-time glow. Let this night be enough. Let it carry you. Some auroras look like flowers blooming. Circular arcs fold outward like a glowing lotus. On certain nights, the sky opens like a blossom, not with sound, not with force, but with elegance. Soft arcs folding outward in concentric rings. Each ripple of light unfurls like petals reaching toward the stars. Sometimes green, sometimes violet at the edges. Each band curves around a center as if drawn by a slow, celestial breath. This isn't movement for spectacle. It's a choreography of magnetism, pressure, silence. The patterns resemble flowers, not just in shape, but in spirit, delicate, brief, and full of quiet meaning. Just like a lotus blooms from the stillness of water, these auroras rise from the stillness of space, and when they fade, they don't disappear all at once. They close gently, fading petal by petal into the night. The memory of their form lingers even after the color dissolves. To see this is to witness a secret told only rarely, a luminous unfolding, written not in biology, but in charged particles and ancient sunlight. So imagine yourself beneath one of those rare flowerings, the sky soft and round above you, breathing light into curves. Let the shape cradle your thoughts. Let it rest over you like a dream of still water. No rush, no edges, just a bloom unfolding endlessly in the dark. Inuit and Sami stories describe ancestors, spirits, and sky fires, Not wrong, just more poetic than particles. Long before science chased solar winds and magnetic fields, there were stories. The people of the far north, Inuit, Sami, and others, looked to the glowing sky and saw not science, but spirit. They didn't measure KP indexes or map electron flows. They listened, they watched, and they wove the lights into the fabric of their world. Some said they were the breath of ancestors, dancing above to guide or protect. Others said they were spirits playing games across the sky. Some told of warnings, others of blessings, but always the lights were alive. The stories did not explain the aurora. They made room for it. They held its silence in reverence, and in a way, that reverence holds truth, because even with all our instruments, we still fall silent when the lights begin. We still look up. We still feel something ancient move inside us. Maybe it's not the ancestors, maybe it's not spirits, but maybe it is something just as deep, the human need to see beauty and give it meaning. So tonight, let those old stories hold space in your mind. Let the sky fires be more than particles. Let them be memory, myth, and gentle mystery. Not wrong, just wider. They said the lights were reflections of shields, a celestial battleground above the world. To the Norse, the aurora was not a quiet drift. It was motion, armor, clash. They looked up at those glowing arcs and saw warriors. They imagined Valkyries riding across the heavens, their armor catching starlight, their shields glinting in rhythmic flashes. The lights became the echo of battle, the memory of courage, not frightening, but fierce, not gentle, but strong. And though we now know the lights are born of the solar winds and magnetospheres, the metaphor holds something human. A shield reflects light. It protects. It gleams. So when the sky glows, maybe it is still protecting us, not from spears or swords, but from forgetting wonder, from closing our eyes too soon. In this version of the story, the aurora is not soft. It is resilient, a glow that reminds us of endurance, of forces unseen still shaping our world. And even in their quietest forms, the lights do feel like sentinels, standing watch in the dark, holding back the emptiness of space. So, if you need strength tonight, imagine those shields. Let them hang above you, glowing softly in rows, not to prepare for war, but to honor peace. You are safe beneath them. Rest. The sky, laughing softly, not to mock, but to remind. In some cultures, the lights were more than visual. They were sound, whispered laughter, heard not with ears, but with something deeper. Tales spoke of the auroras, giggling in joy or mischief, not cruel, not mocking, just alive. And strange as it seems, science has found whispers too. Auroras sometimes produce faint crackles or hisses, barely audible, like static woven into the air. We don't fully understand how. Maybe it's energy moving through trees or electric pulses near the ground, but it's there, a quiet, soft noise, like a chuckle drifting from above. And so the stories echo science, or science echoes the stories. Either way, the lights laugh, not with ridicule, but with knowing, as if the universe, for a moment, remembers joy, remembers how to play. So tonight, let that thought ripple through you. The sky doesn't always have to be solemn. It can giggle, it can dance, it can shine for no reason other than delight. And maybe that's enough. Maybe you don't need every answer, every explanation. Maybe it's okay to be the one listening, smiling, while the sky tells its own soft joke. You don't need to understand it, just hear it, just rest. Some called them omens, Others called them guides. Either way, they were noticed. Throughout history, the lights have stirred something deep and primal in the people who watched them. To some, they were warnings, flares in the heavens that foretold change, war, death. To others, they were blessings, guiding spirits, divine trails lighting the way home. And to many, they were simply awe, no words, just silence, just eyes wide open. What's certain is that they were always noticed. You cannot ignore the aurora. Even on the coldest nights, even in the darkest times, people have looked up. They have paused. They have wondered. It doesn't matter if you see danger or beauty. The sky commands your stillness. The lights don't care what you believe. They just arrive, quietly, unpredictably. And when they do, you are reminded that you are small, yes, but never alone. You are part of a world that watches the sky, a species that seeks stories in light. So as you drift now, imagine all the people across time who lay beneath these same lights. Imagine their hopes, their fears, their poems. Let their gaze join yours. Let their awe flow into you. The aurora is not just above you. It is behind you too, a thread through time, stitching all dreamers together beneath the glow. Let it hold you. Let it soothe you. Let it fade into sleep. Named after the Roman goddess of sunrise, though they appear at night, they carry the same gentleness. There's a softness to the name itself. Aurora, a word that carries warmth, light, and the hush before a new day. The Roman goddess of the dawn, her presence was imagined as gentle fingers pulling back the night. So even though the auroras shimmer in darkness, their name remembers morning. It speaks to their glow, to the way they stretch across the sky like a beginning. And in some ways, each appearance is a kind of rebirth, not of the sun, but of wonder, of the ability to look up and feel something awaken. The name wraps science and poetry, reminding us that these lights were named not for their function, but for how they made people feel. Even now, when instruments measure their energy and satellites trace their patterns, the word we use is still dawn, still soft, still sacred. So as you rest, let that name linger in your thoughts. Let it whisper across your breath, aurora, not just a display of particles and fields, but a reminder that even the night carries beginnings, even the dark holds beauty, and you, like the sky, are allowed to glow quietly in your own way, no matter the hour. Solar flares, coronal mass ejections, not storms in the way we know them, but quiet upheavals. We call it space weather, but it doesn't blow with wind or fall with rain. It pulses, it radiates, it unfolds in silence across the vacuum. When the sun releases a flare, a burst of charged particles, or when a coronal mass ejection spills across the solar system, it's as if something ancient has stirred. The surface of the sun shifts, opens, and breathes energy outward. There's no thunder, no clouds, but the effects ripple like unseen tides. These solar events travel millions of miles, not with fury, but with persistence. And when they reach Earth's magnetic field, they nudge it, fold it, stretch it, and the auroras bloom in reply. Space weather is not chaotic. It has rhythm, cycles. It's the heartbeat of a star, felt across planets. And though we might not feel the pulse in our skin, we see its echo in the sky. So tonight, think of the sun not as distant, but as connected. Its flares, its breath, dancing far above you in arcs of green and violet, not dangerous, just alive, just moving in patterns we are slowly learning to read. They watch its face, the patterns, the pulses, to know when the lights will arrive. Solar physicists do not stare at the sun the way we stare at the moon. They study it through instruments, filters, satellites that can gaze safely. And what they see is always moving, loops of magnetism, shifting spots, pulsing arcs. It's not a calm surface, it's alive, always turning. Scientists look for sunspots, darker regions where magnetic fields twist tightly. These are often the birthplaces of solar flares. They track coronal holes, where solar wind flows faster. They study the sun, not just for its own beauty, but for what it means here on Earth, because sometimes, days after a flare or eruption, the sky responds. Auroras appear, dancing far from cities, blooming across poles, and the watchers knew it would come, not precisely, not with full control, but with enough clarity to whisper, "Tonight, the sky may glow." These are the quiet predictors, people who read solar patterns like tides, and their work helps us know when to look up. So if you ever find yourself beneath the lights, remember there were eyes turned to the sun days earlier, reading its face, waiting for this beauty to arrive, a distant fire translated into color. Not precisely, not always, but signs of the lights ripple from the sun, days in advance. Forecasting auroras isn't like predicting rain. There's no satellite showing clouds drifting in. Instead, there are waves of energy, solar winds, that take time to reach us. Scientists observe the sun and see signs, a flare, an eruption, a wave of particles cast outward. Then they estimate, they wait. These particles don't travel in a straight line. They spiral, they bend, they interact with other fields along the way. Sometimes they reach us directly, sometimes they miss, but when they do arrive, they stir Earth's magnetic field. The sky responds, and if conditions are just right, the auroras unfold. It's a dance that begins days before we see a single glow. The sun sends a message, and the Earth replies in light. It's not a guarantee, but it's a rhythm we've learned to listen to. So when someone tells you the aurora may come tonight, know that the prediction began far away. In a solar sigh, the same light that feeds your days is also shaping your nights. And while the forecast may not be perfect, the anticipation is part of the wonder, like waiting for fireflies, like watching the tide, a celestial maybe, whispered softly. A number from 0 to 9, the higher it climbs, the further south the aurora reaches. The KP index is a quiet key. It doesn't flash or roar. It hums, a measure of how restless Earth's magnetic field has become. When the sun sends charged particles our way, they disturb that field, and scientists track the strength of that disturbance. KP0 means calm. The sky is still, but when it climbs 5, 6, 7, the auroras push further from the poles, spilling down into places where they are rarely seen. At KP9, even those in temperate latitudes may glimpse a flicker. This number is a kind of heartbeat, a pulse from the cosmos, measured in potential. For sky watchers, it's a signal to prepare, to look up, to wait. But the number itself doesn't hold the magic. It's what follows that matters. The stillness, the unfolding, the dance. KP is a hint, not a promise. And sometimes the best shows come quietly, unannounced, without high numbers or loud predictions. So even if the index is low, let yourself dream. The aurora doesn't need permission to appear. It simply arrives, sometimes unnoticed, and changes everything. Let the numbers be a guide, not a limit. Let the sky be free to surprise. When the glow reaches its peak, it can form a complete circle. You lie beneath it, like someone inside a quiet crown of light. It begins as a whisper on the horizon, green threads weaving upward like vines made of mist. Slowly they gather, stretch, and meet in the highest part of the sky. When conditions are just right, the aurora doesn't just arc across the heavens, it encircles you. A complete ring forms, delicate and vast, like a halo above the world. You are no longer watching from the outside, you are inside it, resting in the center of a celestial bloom. The circle pulses gently, a living wreath made of particles and magnetism. And as it hovers above, time seems to pause. This isn't a sight everyone sees. It requires the right latitude, the right solar storm, the right darkness. But in that rare moment, the aurora becomes more than a dance. It becomes a dome, a cathedral of light, built not from stone, but from the sky itself. You could call it a crown, a lantern, a sign, but really it's a hush, a reminder that even chaos, solar flares, space weather can create moments of perfect symmetry. And you, lying beneath it, are not small. You are part of the design. Your eyes catch the green, but with a camera's patience, pinks, reds, and purples bloom into view. Our eyes are designed for daytime, tuned to brightness and contrast. At night, under the stars, they soften, sensitive to movement, but blind to subtle color. That's why, when you look up at the aurora, it often appears green, the most common hue, the one our vision finds most easily in the dark. But bring a camera, something that can wait, something that can gather light over time, and a different sky unfolds. The greens deepen into emerald, then magenta rises at the edges, pink and violet, and red unfurling like petals in a time-lapse bloom. Sometimes even pale blue appears, like a memory of daylight. Cameras see what our eyes miss, the full palette of the aurora's touch, not because the sky hides anything, but because we are built for a different rhythm, a faster one, a more practical one. So when someone shows you a photograph, bold, multicolored, surreal, believe them. That sky was real. The color was always there, waiting. And perhaps, in a way, you don't need to see it all. Perhaps green is enough to stir your breath, to quiet your thoughts. The rest, the reds and blues, are there for the dreamers, for the lenses, for the slow reveal. Slowed down, the aurora looks like breath, expanding, fading, flowing again. When the camera holds still and time is allowed to stretch, the sky begins to inhale. The lights rise like a tide, swell across the heavens, and then fall back into the quiet. They aren't just lights anymore. They're movement, rhythm, breath. Each pulse a silent exhale from the edge of space. The aurora, in time lapse, becomes alive, not in the way of animals or people, but in the way clouds shift or fire flickers. And watching it this way, your own breathing slows to match. In, out, glow, fade. The sky is not still. It is always becoming, always shifting, but it moves in waves too long for our eyes. The time-lapse gives us access to that hidden tempo, and in return, we remember how to slow down, how to witness. There is a kind of magic in seeing the world on a different clock, as if time is not rigid, but flexible, as if wonder has its own calendar. So let the sky breathe and breathe with it. Let the lights teach you the pace of stars, and know that even when it seems still above, something is always moving, always flowing, always gently exhaling beyond what we can see. The darkest hours bring the brightest flows. When the world sleeps deepest, the sky begins to stir. There's something sacred about midnight, not just because it divides one day from the next. but because it's when the world quiets, streets empty, windows dim. The noise of daytime thought softens, and into that hush the aurora steps. The sky, now free of competing light, begins to reveal its secrets. It's not coincidence, it's alignment. At midnight, your part of the earth faces directly away from the sun, allowing the magnetic field to receive the solar wind more openly. The aurora grows bolder, expanding its reach. Colors intensify, movement sharpens. What might have been a faint shimmer at twilight becomes a full curtain, rippling in arcs across the stars. Midnight is a threshold, a place between sleep and waking, between yesterday and tomorrow, and the aurora thrives in those liminal spaces. So when the hour is late and your breath has slowed, step outside if you can. Look up. You might just catch the sky's most vivid dreams, and even if the lights do not appear tonight, the darkness itself will hold you. Stillness is a kind of light too. Around March and September, magnetic fields align, and the aurora slips through more easily. Twice a year, something quiet happens in space. During the equinoxes, when day and night are equal, Earth's magnetic tilt aligns just right with the direction of the solar wind. It's as if a door is slightly more open, and through that doorway, the auroras walk more freely. Scientists call it the Russell-McLaren effect, but you don't need to remember the name. Just know that March and September hold a special softness, a special shimmer. During these times, the lights are more likely to dance, more likely to stretch further from the poles. And even if the KP index isn't high, even if no great solar storm has arrived, the chances are still greater. It's a natural invitation. The Earth in balance, the sun in motion, and the aurora ready to bloom. Ancient peoples may not have known the science, but they knew the seasons. They watched the skies more closely around equinox. And now we do too, with satellites, with apps, with eyes turned upward. So if you find yourself outside in these months, let your gaze linger, let your thoughts slow. You are standing in a doorway between seasons, and the sky may just slip something beautiful through. They don't ask permission. A quiet sky becomes a waterfall of green in seconds. One moment, the sky is still, a calm sheet of black scattered with stars. And then, without sound or warning, it begins. A flicker, a shimmer, a blooming arc. The aurora doesn't build like a crescendo. It appears as if from a dream, complete and fluid. In just seconds, the heavens erupt in motion. Green flames curl and bend, weaving through each other like silk underwater. The transformation feels like magic, but it's magnetism and solar wind. Still, no science can soften the awe of it. There's no preparation, no countdown, just the pure immediacy of light in motion, painting its strokes across the sky. And even if you've seen it before, this arrival still steals your breath. It feels personal, like the sky chose this moment, just for you, just for now. And beneath it, all you can do is watch. There is no pause, no rewind, only this living moment. And in that rush of light, you remember something ancient, that beauty doesn't always announce itself. It arrives quietly, boldly, in a blink. One blink, and they're gone. The sky returns to dark, as if nothing had happened. The show may last minutes or only seconds, but when it ends completely. The sky, once alive with motion, folds back into stillness. No trace remains, no trail, no scent, no echo. It's as if the aurora was never there at all, only the memory lingers. And it happens fast. A gust of solar wind passes. The particles disperse, the magnetosphere settles, and just like that, the curtains of light vanish, pulled back into the stars. You're left staring upward, wondering if it was real. But that's the nature of these lights: ephemeral, fleeting, soft as breath on glass. They don't linger for applause. They don't wait for understanding. They are gifts, not performances. And maybe that's why they matter, because they remind you that not everything needs to last. Not everything needs to be captured. Some things are meant to be witnessed once and then released. So let them go. Let the dark return. Let the hush settle over you again. And hold the wonder gently, like a secret between you and the sky. Sometimes the aurora wraps around you. The whole sky becomes a canvas. You may expect to look north. That's where the lights usually live. But on certain nights, the strong ones, the rare ones, they break that boundary. They expand and wrap around you like a cloak of color, overhead, to the east, to the west, even to the south. The entire dome of the sky becomes part of the painting, a panorama of motion, curling and stretching in every direction. You're no longer watching the aurora. You're inside it, part of it, like standing in the middle of a slow-moving tide. It humbles you. You turn in circles, your breath lost in the immensity of it all. There's no front or behind anymore. Just sky, just light, just the soft pull of something older than names. The aurora doesn't belong to one direction. It belongs to the whole night. So, if you ever find yourself beneath such a sky, don't limit your gaze. Let it wander. Let it rise and drift and spin. Because the aurora, when it's most generous, will not simply visit. It will surround. Not overhead, but far off, like dawn arriving too early. A shimmer begins just above the trees. You scan the sky and see only stars, but then, at the edge of vision, a faint glow begins to rise, not vertical, not overhead, but along the horizon, just above the trees, a band of pale green, as if morning is coming too soon. This is often how it starts, not with a bang, but with a whisper. The aurora begins low and far, like a secret shared by the earth before the sky catches on. It pulses gently at first, barely visible, but give it time, it grows. Slowly, the glow thickens. It stretches like fog lifting from a dream, until the edge of the world begins to shimmer. You don't chase it, you let it arrive. And in that arrival, there is anticipation, hope, a reminder that beauty doesn't always descend from above. Sometimes it emerges from the edge, from the place where night meets land, from the far places, the quiet places, the patient places. The horizon holds many beginnings, and this is one of them. They don't fall randomly. They follow invisible roads drawn by Earth's deep magnetism. Imagine space filled with silent highways, paths you cannot see, but that shape everything. These are the magnetic field lines of Earth, stretching from pole to pole in elegant curves. When charged particles from the sun arrive, they don't simply scatter. They are guided, gently but firmly, by these magnetic paths. Like leaves caught in a current, they follow the lines toward the poles, spiraling inward, downward, until they meet the atmosphere. There, in that meeting, where motion becomes glow, the aurora is born. It's not chaos, it's choreography, and the sky is the stage. These particles, born in solar storms millions of kilometers away, are now tracing ancient roots drawn deep in Earth's iron heart. That's why the lights cluster near the magnetic poles. That's why they ripple in rings and arcs. They are responding to the unseen shape of the planet's magnetic breath, and you, standing beneath them, are not separate from this pattern. You are part of the same field, the same dance, the same design. Let that thought settle around you. You are held by invisible lines too. Jupiter glows too, its own massive magnetosphere, birthing alien auroras. Saturn hums with light at its poles. Auroras are not Earth's secret. Across the solar system, other worlds breathe light in their own strange ways. Jupiter, the giant, carries a magnetic field so immense it dwarfs our planets. And within that field, particles dance, not from our sun alone, but from its own volcanic moon, Io, which spews charged material into space. These particles spiral along Jupiter's vast magnetic lines and ignite glowing rings at the poles. The colors, the patterns, all more intense, more massive, more alien than anything we know. Saturn, too, sings in light. Its auroras ripple in response to solar storms, shimmering in ovals around each pole like quiet halos. And yet, these cosmic displays remain unseen by human eyes. Only spacecraft and sensors record their music, sending back glimpses of planetary skies most will never witness. But knowing they're there, knowing that other worlds flicker and flare with their own night glow, expands our sense of belonging. The solar system, in its silent spinning, shares this language of light. From Earth's forests to Saturn's rings, particles follow the same rules, spark the same rhythms. It reminds us that we are not isolated in our beauty. We are part of a family of planets, each holding secrets of skyfire and magnetism. And when you look up tonight, remember, the sky glows on other worlds too. With only scraps of a magnetic field, Mars still flickers in faint scattered glows. Mars is not like Earth. Its magnetic field is broken, patchy, not a global shield, but scattered remnants frozen in ancient crust. And yet, even here, the aurora finds a way. When solar particles reach Mars, they don't follow neat pathways. They crash into localized fields, small and fractured, creating ghostly pulses of light in unpredictable places. There is no steady oval, no consistent pole, just a flicker over a canyon, a soft flash near a rocky ridge, faint, brief, scattered like memories of a stronger past. These are the ghost auroras of Mars, invisible to the eye, but caught by orbiting instruments, pale whispers of a sky that still remembers how to glow. And maybe that's what makes them so haunting. They're not loud or bright or bold. They're quiet echoes, fading embers of a magnetic history. Mars once had a field like ours. It once had water, warmth, perhaps even life. And now it has silence. But in that silence, the light still pulse, softly, stubbornly, a last breath of magnetism, a hint of something enduring. As you lie still tonight, think of that distant red world, empty, dry, but not forgotten. Even there, in the thin air and broken field, light still finds a way through. Far from the sun, they too feel the solar wind. Their auroras are stranger, colder, tilted. Uranus spins on its side, a blue-green world lolling like a dreamer beneath distant starlight. Neptune turns with ghost-like grace, its deep azure swirled by fierce winds. These planets, though remote and frigid, are not untouched. The solar wind, weakened by distance but still present, reaches even here, and when it arrives, it stirs the sky. Uranus, with its bizarre tilt and lopsided magnetic field, hosts auroras that don't follow the rules. They flash in odd places, dance in unpredictable ways. Neptune, too, carries a hidden field, one that leans and drifts and confounds prediction. Yet still, it glows. These auroras are different from Earth's. harder to see, harder to trace, but they exist, far beyond the warmth of the inner planets. They hum in the cold, they shimmer in silence. The outer giants remind us that distance is not disconnection. Even at the edge of the sun's reach, light still dances, motion still stirs. Magnetic fields, though wild and strange, still create space for beauty. And while we may never see these lights with our eyes, their presence is a promise that the universe is more connected than we know, that even at the farthest margins, the language of light continues. They flickered over mammoths, over ancient oceans, over sleepers who simply looked up, long before telescopes, before cities, before even words for the sky. The auroras were already dancing. Imagine a world without light pollution, without noise, without the constant hum of modern life, just the hush of snow, the crackle of fire, the slow breath of mammoths moving through frost, and above it all, the lights, green rivers, violet flames, quiet curtains of motion. Early humans would have seen them without understanding, but maybe they didn't need to understand. Maybe awe was enough. Maybe lumbering on cold ground, wrapped in furs, they felt what we still feel now: small, quiet, connected. The aurora doesn't need a name to work its spell. It speaks through presence, through motion, through the sheer unlikeliness of light unfurling across a frozen sky. Over ancient oceans, long before our kind walked, the auroras danced too. Fish beneath the ice, trees lifting branches, the earth watching itself from within. The lights are older than our languages, older than our memories. They belong to time itself. So when you see them or imagine them, you're reaching back, joining a line of gazes that stretches beyond history. Sleepers, wanderers, animals, ancestors, all looking up, all listening to the same silent sky. The sky will keep breathing light. The particles will keep falling, even when we are gone, when our names have faded, when our machines fall silent. The aurora will remain. The sun will still breathe its charged wind. The earth will still turn beneath it, magnetosphere humming like a deep drum. Particles will fall, guided by invisible lines, and the sky will ripple with light once more. There may be no one to watch, no one to wonder, but the show will go on. Nature does not perform for applause, it simply continues. The aurora is not a response to us. It is a rhythm of the cosmos, a consequence of stars and fields in motion, and even if Earth changes, even if poles shift or climates bend, the forces that birth the lights are vast, enduring. This sky breath will last. And maybe, someday, other beings will see it, from a distant moon, from a rebuilt Earth, from a world we cannot imagine. They will lie back, as we do, and feel the hush of wonder. They'll trace the ribbons, they'll feel the glow, they'll ask the same quiet questions. And the aurora will answer, not in words, but in presence, in shimmer, in the soft persistence of beauty. Whether anyone watches or not, the aurora dances. It does not perform. It simply is. In the quiet of night, when the last cabin window has gone dark and no footprints mark the snow, the sky still ripples. Without applause, without witness, it glows. The aurora doesn't wait for eyes to find it. It doesn't need to be seen to be real. Its purpose is not performance, but presence. Like the tides that turn without asking, like the moon that waxes in silence, the lights continue their rhythm, regardless of who is watching. It is a reminder that beauty does not need an audience to exist, that wonder is not always made for us. There is something humbling in that, The idea that the world goes on glowing whether or not we pay attention, that the sky doesn't depend on our wonder, even as it gently invites it. Sometimes the most profound things happen quietly, unseen. A tree grows in a forest, a glacier sighs beneath the stars, the aurora spills green across an empty tundra, and yet, in that solitude, there is grace, there is meaning. You don't need to chase it, you don't need to claim it, it will keep dancing, with or without your gaze. And tonight, as you rest, you can take comfort in that truth, that beauty is not rare, only rarely noticed. The sky is generous, the aurora is faithful, and even in your sleep, the world continues to shine. Before we spoke, we saw. Before we wrote, the sky was already painting. Long before language curled into sound, before symbols etched meaning into stone, there was sky. And in that sky, the aurora, we were still learning to walk upright, still discovering fire. But the lights had already begun their silent show. They required no translation, no grammar, just eyes tilted upward and hearts stilled by color. Before stories had structure, the sky told its own, in shifting green, in flickers of violet, in curtains that danced across the cold. Perhaps it was our first myth, a moving god, a veil between worlds, a sign that something larger breathed beyond the trees, and perhaps, in those ancient moments, awe was born, the kind that doesn't need explanation, just silence, just presence. We learned to paint from watching it. We learned to dream beneath it. The aurora became part of our memory before memory had a name. And though we now use words, though we now speak of ions and magnetism, the feeling remains the same, ancient, immediate, wordless. When you lie still and look up, you join that unbroken line of wanderers, those who came before language, before science, before time was measured. You return to that first seeing, that first knowing, that even in a silent sky, there is meaning. The aurora is not fire, it is an interaction, a meeting of space and air. It glows, yes, it pulses, it flows like flame, but there is no burning, no heat, no crackle of combustion. The aurora is not fire in the way we know it, not sparked by wood, not fed by fuel. It is something more delicate, more ethereal. It is the soft greeting of particles from the sun and molecules in our upper atmosphere. A kiss, not a strike. Charged solar wind meets oxygen and nitrogen, and instead of collision, there is color. Instead of violence, there is light. It's a different kind of energy, one that doesn't consume, but transforms. The sky becomes a canvas, not from destruction, but from connection. This is what makes the aurora feel so otherworldly. It behaves like something familiar, yet it isn't. Firewood roar. This glows in silence. Fire devours. The aurora gives. It is an agreement between elements, a shared dance. And when you watch it, or even imagine it now, you're not seeing flames. You're witnessing communication. Sunlight carried across space, meeting Earth's breath and responding in shimmer. That's all it is. And yet, it's enough to fill us with wonder, enough to still us, to hush us, to remind us that even in the cold, even in the dark, the universe still finds ways to create light. They live where the planet's shield opens widest, a doorway between Earth and sky. Our planet is wrapped in a magnetic embrace, a field invisible but vast, like a protective cocoon that shelters us from solar wind. Most of the time, that field deflects the storm, but near the poles it softens, it bends, it opens, and through those openings, particles slip in, not in chaos, but along precise paths. The poles are not just cold, they are portals, thin spots where Earth meets cosmos. That's why the auroras favor the north and south, not out of whimsy, but design. The magnetic field is like a funnel guiding charged particles into our upper atmosphere. There they spark the lights. The dance begins. These regions, so remote and often harsh, become theaters for the sky's most gentle performance. It's as if Earth lifts its face to the stars in those places, and the universe leans down to respond. And in that brief meeting, light is born, not everywhere, not always, but reliably, faithfully over these polar thresholds. So when you think of the aurora, think also of the quiet mechanics beneath it, the shield that guards, the doorway that opens, the balance between safety and surrender. You are cradled in that balance now, resting under a sky that knows exactly when to hold and when to let in the light. From orbit, machines trace the glow, not just for beauty, but for data, soft science written in starlight. High above the aurora, satellites drift in quiet arcs. Their eyes, sharper than ours, record each flicker, each shift. They do not marvel, they measure. They do not dream, they collect. And yet, what they gather is still wonder, just in numbers and wavelengths. These instruments don't just admire the lights, they decode them. Every pulse of green, every burst of red tells a story about solar storms, about Earth's magnetic mood, about the breath of space itself. The aurora is not just a show, it's a signal, a living diagram of invisible interactions. Scientists read it like a heartbeat. They use it to understand radiation belts, to predict satellite safety, to trace the fingerprints of sunspots and flares. In this way, the aurora becomes more than beauty. It becomes knowledge, a soft glow turned into maps, models, meaning. And still, there is poetry in that our machines, built with precision, now orbit in silence to listen to light, that data and awe are not opposites, they are two ways of paying attention. So, as you lie back and think of the lights above, remember, somewhere, a satellite is drifting too, quiet, steady, watching with its own kind of reverence, not with emotion, but with care, with curiosity, with purpose. Strong storms can shift airplane routes and shake electric lines. Quiet beauty with quiet power. Most of the time, the aurora seems gentle, a ribbon of light, soft as breath, but beneath that elegance lies energy, vast and unpredictable. When solar storms surge toward Earth, they do more than light the sky. They ripple through our systems. High above, airplanes reroute to avoid polar regions where communication might falter. Pilots fly farther south, carving new paths through quiet air, and far below, electric grids hum a little louder. Currents fluctuate, transformers strain. In rare moments, lights flicker on the ground as they shimmer in the sky. It's a reminder that beauty can have weight, that even the softest glow can hold a hidden strength. This isn't a warning, just a quiet truth. The same event that paints green across the heavens can echo through metal and wire. In the stillness of night, while passengers doze and cities sleep, the aurora speaks in voltage. Satellites feel it, instruments track it, engineers listen for its touch, and yet, for those watching from a frozen field or a mountaintop, none of this shows. The sky remains serene. Only those attuned to its deeper rhythm know the balance between wonder and impact, between awe and science. As you rest tonight, know that even the lightest things have reach. Even the quietest storms can shift the world's course. A flare from the sun, can turn night into color. One solar sigh, and the aurora roars. It begins with a breath, not ours, but the sun's. A flare, sudden and immense, releases energy that races across space. Days later, that breath brushes Earth, and the sky responds. The aurora, normally calm and steady, awakens into something else, something louder, brighter. It swells across the horizon, turning blackness into a pulse of shifting colors. It is not loud in sound, but in feeling. It roars in its presence. These are the moments when the aurora is not just soft decoration, but cosmic expression. The sun has spoken, and the planet replies in green and violet and flame. These storms don't come often, but when they do, they stretch far, painting the sky in places that rarely see them. Cities look up, desert skies flicker, forests glow in hues they've never known. And while we marvel, machines measure, data spikes, signals bend, but none of that matters in the stillness of a human gaze tilted skyward. In that moment, it's just you and the Skadice breathing in rhythm. A solar storm becomes a light storm. Night becomes a moving canvas. You become a witness to something ancient and immediate, a conversation between star and world. Let that energy soften you tonight. Let it wash over your thoughts and carry them into rest. The Carrington event lit up skies over Cuba. Telegraph wires sparked. The atmosphere pulsed. In 1859, something rare unfolded, a storm so strong it turned night to day in parts of the world that had never seen the lights before. The aurora reached the tropics. Havana glowed. Queensland shimmered, and across Europe and North America, people woke to skies that pulsed with impossible color. But this was more than beauty. It was force. Telegraph wires, the lifeblood of communication at the time, sparked and hissed. Some burst into flame. Operators felt shocks through their keys, and yet the signals still moved, powered not by batteries, but by the storm itself. The Earth, briefly, was alive with current, was the most powerful solar storm in recorded history. A reminder that the sun is not distant, it is present, always, and capable of touching us in ways both visible and hidden. Trees bent in windless forests, compass needles danced, and in the sky, curtains of green and red billowed above lands that had no name for them. We are not separate from the cosmos. We are woven into it. The Carrington event stitched itself into our memory, not with words, but with light. As you sleep, imagine that night, a warm place suddenly filled with cold fire, the sky becoming unfamiliar and yet beautiful. And know this, the universe doesn't need permission to astonish us. It simply does. Particles from ancient storms left traces in tree rings, a silent record of sky fire long gone. Trees do not watch the sky, but they remember it. In the quiet growth of rings beneath bark, a story is kept, year by year, layer by layer. When great solar storms flood Earth with charged particles, those whispers reach the soil. They drift down, touching roots, touching leaves, and sometimes they leave a mark. Scientists now read those marks, faint anomalies in carbon isotopes, as records of auroras long vanished. A storm in the 8th century, another in the 10th. Centuries before telescopes, before weather maps, the forest was already keeping time. These silent sentinels held the memory of fire in the sky, not burned into their wood, but folded gently within it. You might pass a tree today that remembers a light show no one wrote down, a birch that lived through a glowing sky, an oak that stood still beneath a green night. They do not speak of it, but the knowledge remains, and we, with tools and care, have learned to listen. It's a reminder that the earth is a journal and everything leaves a trace, even light, even silence. As you drift now, imagine the roots curled in cold soil, holding the memory of light that danced far above. You are held by the same earth. Rest with it. Remember nothing. It remembers for you. Even in Antarctica, ancient ice remembers. Tiny isotopes hold the memory of lights from centuries past. Beneath your feet, under glaciers that haven't melted in millennia, the sky's history sleeps. Ice cores, long cylinders of frozen time, hold layer after layer of snowfall pressed into memory. And within those layers, scientists find the quiet fingerprints of past auroras, tiny particles carried from the sun, settled gently onto the poles. Not every year, not always. Only when the sun sighed deeply enough for its breath to reach that far. These isotopes, beryllium, carbon, rare and quiet, become bookmarks in Earth's long sleep. They tell of storms we never saw, lights no one recorded, bursts of energy that turned to skies red and green over long forgotten winters. Antarctica doesn't speak, it doesn't move, but its ice holds everything. The noise of the sun, the silence of snow, the record of flame in a world of frost. We read it now, slowly, patiently, measuring what the world kept hidden. And in doing so, we remember how connected it all is: sun, air, snow, silence. As you lie still, think of that ice. Think of layers, thousands deep, holding not just cold, but color. You are drifting now, but the planet is still turning, still storing, still singing in layers we are only just learning to hear. Let yourself be part of that hush, a moment caught in Earth's long memory. By tracing the glow, scientists sketch Earth's invisible shield, a living map drawn in light. Earth is wrapped in a protective shell, a magnetic field that deflects solar winds, shields us from radiation, and holds the aurora in its arms. We cannot see this shield directly, but the lights help us trace its edges. When charged particles from the sun crash into Earth's atmosphere, they do so in patterns shaped by this magnetic field. The auroras bloom where the shield curves open, like petals responding to wind. Scientists watch the shapes and shifts in those glows to understand the flow of magnetism above us. It's like watching footprints to map an invisible dancer. The brightness, color, and location of the aurora whisper secrets about where Earth's magnetic lines bend and twist. Instruments on the ground and in orbit track these whispers, building a portrait of something vast and unseen. Our magnetosphere is not still. It ripples, stretches, tightens, and the aurora shows us where it breathes. With every flicker, every wave, the sky traces a living diagram of the space around our world. As you rest now, imagine Earth inside a soft cocoon of force, invisible but real, and lit gently from within. You are nestled in that field, just like the lights. You are protected by it, and tonight, the sky draws your outline too, in quiet arcs, in silent sparks, in a language only the stars can write. They are science and soul, magnetism and myth, beauty and data, unfolding in silence. The aurora is not just a show, it is a phenomenon that threads together physics and feeling. It begins in the sun, a star full of storms, and travels across space to become color in our skies. But even that is only part of the story. For some, the aurora is data, a sign of solar wind velocity, of magnetic reconnection, of particle precipitation, numbers, graphs, indices. For others, it is a hush in the forest, a flicker above a quiet lake, a memory held in childhood wonder. There is no conflict between these truths. The aurora is both. It is the math of magnetism and the poetry of sky fire. It is a measurement and a miracle. Indigenous stories saw spirits dancing. Scientists see electrons colliding. But in the end, all of us just look up. We pause. We breathe slower. We feel smaller, but not in a sad way, in a connected way. The lights remind us that the sky is alive, that Earth is not separate from the sun, and that beauty can emerge from equations. As you lie here, held by night, know that you are part of both sides. You are stardust and story. You are observant and awed. Let the lights be what they are, not explained away, but understood more deeply. Not just a light show, but a message, a mystery that doesn't need solving to be cherished. There's no shortcut, just stillness, patience, and eyes tuned to softness. To photograph the aurora is not to chase it. It is to wait, in the cold, in the dark, sometimes for hours, sometimes for nothing. A good image begins long before the light appears. It begins with stillness, with tuning your breath to the rhythm of the night, with watching the sky not for motion, but for mood. The lights do not announce themselves. They emerge, slowly or suddenly, with no promise of staying. And so, the photographer becomes a part of the night, a quiet presence, unmoving, attuned. The shutter opens, the exposure lingers. A camera can see more than the eye if it too learns to wait. But even then, the photo is not the point. The real image is made in memory. The softness of green against stars, the hush of snow underfoot, the feeling of time stretching thin. No photo captures that, but sometimes it reminds us, and that's enough. As you breathe now, you are waiting too. You are the camera, you are the lens, you are the stillness that lets the beauty arrive. Let it come without demand. Let it be whatever it will be. The sky owes us nothing and gives us everything. Aurora hunters roam to Iceland, Norway, Alaska, but sometimes they arrive without warning. There are those who spend years seeking the aurora, travelers, dreamers, photographers, scientists. They follow the KP index like a compass. They camp in cold valleys, climb ridges above the clouds, chase weather maps across continents. They go where the skies are dark and clear, where light pollution fades and silence deepens. Iceland's coast, Norway's fjords, Canada's frozen heart. These places become shrines to skyfire. Yet even then, the lights may hide. Forecasts miss, storms cloud over, hours pass with only stars. And then, on a night when no one expected, the lights bloom above a quiet suburb, over farmland, over home. No warning, no plan, just grace. The aurora is not bound by itinerary. It appears when it chooses. The chaser learns this, learns that part of the joy is the unpredictability, that missing it is part of loving it, that even the pursuit becomes sacred. You may not chase the aurora, but in some way you know the feeling, hoping for beauty, waiting for wonder, learning to find meaning in the sky's silence. Tonight, let yourself stop chasing. Let the lights find you, in rest, in calm, in the quiet place between effort and arrival. The moment lives longer in memory than on film. Let the glow reach your breath. Sometimes, the best camera is no camera at all. You stand beneath the lights, breath fogging, heart still, and you think, I should capture this. But then you don't, because something deeper is happening. The sky is not performing, it is simply being. And so are you. There's no need to document, to prove, to post. The moment seeps into you like warmth into cold hands. You feel it rather than freeze it. The lights ripple, slow, silent, soft, and they seem to know you're watching without needing anything in return. A photo would miss the scent of pine, the crunch of frost, the hush of shared awe between strangers on a trail. It would miss the way your breath paused without you noticing. Some nights, you remember more clearly the feeling than the form. That's not a loss. It's a deeper kind of image, one printed not on screens, but in sleep, in story, in stillness. As you lie here now, let that be enough. You don't need to hold the aurora. Let it pass through you like a wave. Let it be part of your dreaming. Let it flicker on the inside of your eyelids as you drift. Not recorded, but remembered. The human eye adapts slowly to darkness. Sometimes you're watching only part of the show. You step outside, beneath the stars, and the world feels dim at first, almost too quiet, too dark. But stay a little longer. Let your eyes drink in the night, bit by bit. Vision in darkness is not immediate. It unfolds, and the aurora, like a shy visitor, often begins quietly too. The faintest ripple, a smudge of light mistaken for cloud. In those first minutes, you might think you've missed it, but as your pupils widen, as the rods in your eyes awaken, the curtain lifts. What seemed still begins to move. What was gray turns green, and sometimes the dance was already in full motion, only you hadn't seen it yet. That's the nature of light in the dark. It waits for you to notice, and sometimes it doesn't show all at once. The sky may be glowing to the north, while the south remains still, or overhead, the lights may twist in silence while your gaze remains fixed on the horizon. You never see everything, but that's part of the beauty, a humility built into wonder. As you rest now, let this thought comfort you. It's okay to miss part of the dance. The sky is not asking for your full understanding. Only your presence, only your patience. Even in sleep, you are witnessing more than you know. Forecasts help, but the sky has its moods. Particles don't always follow our plans. Science has given us tools, models, sensors, satellites, to predict when the lights might arrive. We know the rhythm of the sun's breath, the timing of storms launched across space. There are charts, apps, aurora alerts, and yet the sky remains its own creature. Solar winds might slow unexpectedly, magnetic fields might twist away, clouds might roll in quietly with no apology. The lights may appear on a night with a low forecast, dazzling and sudden, or they may vanish despite promising numbers. It's not failure, it's nature. You can't schedule the sky. The aurora is not an appointment, it's a presence, and that means surrender. That means showing up without control, without certainty. It's a kind of trust, like hoping for rain on dry soil, like leaving the window open just in case. The unpredictability is not a flaw, it's a gift. It reminds us that not everything answers to us, that beauty still belongs to wildness, and sometimes the not knowing is what makes the seeing so tender. So if you've waited for light and it hasn't come, rest anyway. Let the not arrival be part of the story too. The sky will return in its own time. It stays in your chest, even years later, a calm that returns when you close your eyes. Some sights carve a quiet place inside you. The aurora, once seen, is never truly forgotten. Even if it was brief, a single ribbon drifting above a cold field, or a soft green curtain over a silent lake, it leaves something, a hush, a shimmer behind the eyelids. Years may pass. Life may grow louder, but when you lie still, when you let your breath slow, that light returns, not as memory, but as feeling. It's not just what you saw, it's what you felt. A deep quiet, a presence larger than explanation, a softness wrapped in sky. You don't need a photograph, you don't need to describe it. The moment became part of you, a compass point you didn't know you had, a steadying hum you can return to. And perhaps that's why people travel so far for even one glimpse, because once is enough, more than enough, because the sky in that moment met you where you were and left a glow. As you drift into sleep, let that glow return. Even if you've never seen the aurora, imagine it now. Let it form in your chest, slow, rippling, quiet, a ribbon of peace unfolding inside. It's not sadness, just quiet awe, a release like snowfall or a song. There's a moment beneath the aurora when words fall away. You stand in the cold, breath soft in the dark, and suddenly the sky opens, a wave of color, moving without sound, as if thought itself has paused, and something inside you responds, not with reason, not with understanding, but with tears. It's not crying from sorrow. It's not confusion. It's the body's way of releasing what the heart can't quite carry. Awe is heavy sometimes, and so is wonder, the vastness of it, the beauty, the reminder of how small and connected and alive you are. It arrives without permission, like a song you didn't expect, like a snowfall you forgot to wish for. People cry beneath the aurora, not because they're overwhelmed, but because something has been softened, unlocked. The tension of days, the noise of thought, all melted in the hush of sky fire. The tears are quiet, warm against the cold, and they belong there as much as the lights do. So if you've ever felt that too, that trembling peace, know you're not alone. Know it's a kind of knowing, a remembering. Tonight, if you feel emotion rise, let it. You are witnessing something rare, not just in the sky, but in yourself. A single ribbon may fade fast, or the sky may glow all night. The aurora does not keep a schedule. Sometimes it dances for a few precious minutes, a single arc that appears and vanishes before your breath even settles. Other times it lingers, it shifts and grows, pulses and fades, returns again and again. The whole night can become a canvas, repainted with each passing hour. No two displays are alike, no two moments repeat. The lights might flicker low on the horizon, barely visible, then suddenly soar overhead like a river of color. Or they may come in waves, intense bursts followed by stillness. You may fall asleep beneath a dim sky, only to wake to a blaze of emerald and violet. That unpredictability is part of the magic. It keeps you present, keeps you watching. It invites patience. It invites wonder. Whether short or long, whether subtle or brilliant, the aurora offers a gift of time, not measured in minutes, but in stillness. As you lie here now, let the rhythm of the lights guide your own. Some nights are brief flashes of beauty, others stretch wide and deep. Both are valid, both are enough. Let this moment be what it is, no more, no less. A sky softly glowing, a heart gently resting. It has danced long before we watched, and it will dance long after. The aurora is not for us, though we marvel at it. It doesn't need applause or even attention. It is a part of the sky's quiet heartbeat, a natural phenomenon, unfolding whether seen or unseen. Long before cities, long before even firelight, these ribbons moved through the night in silent rhythm. There is something humbling in that, to realize the beauty of the world does not wait for our gaze. Just as flowers bloom in forests, no one enters, and waves crash on shores, no one walks. The aurora paints its colors across the dark whether or not eyes are turned upward. It is a cosmic reminder that wonder does not require witness, that some things are beautiful simply because they are. And perhaps that's what makes it so special. When we do see it, we catch a glimpse of something ongoing, ancient, indifferent to human presence, a flicker of eternity, a brushstroke of physics that continues whether we're here or not. So tonight, if you are lucky enough to see the sky bloom, know that you are witnessing a moment that is not performing. It is simply being. And when you close your eyes, it will continue, curling, shifting, glowing above the clouds, above the noise, forever free of audience or stage. Let it dance. Let yourself drift. Nothing more is needed. Cities dim the aurora's quiet glow. Darkness is the first invitation. Where electric light spills across rooftops and streets, the sky becomes quieter, harder to read. The subtle threads of green, the whispers of violet, they vanish under the noise of bulbs and screens. The aurora is still there, still dancing, but hidden, like a soft voice drowned by static. To see the northern lights in their full softness, you must go where the night is deeper, far from traffic, far from neon, into forests, fields, and frozen lakes where shadows stretch wide and stars crowd the sky. In this hush, the aurora emerges again, patient, gentle, real. Light pollution does not erase the aurora. It only blinds us to it, and sometimes that blindness spreads further. We forget to look up. We forget that beyond the clouds, above the haze, the universe continues its silent shimmer. The sky is always awake, even when we aren't watching. So find the dark, not just outside, but inside. Quiet your mind. Let the screens fade. Let your thoughts soften like the edge of a snowdrift. The less you try to see, the more will reveal itself. In a world of constant illumination, darkness becomes sacred, a necessary canvas, and in that darkness, the aurora lives, breathing, pulsing, waiting, not for an audience, just for the night. The sky blooms, and below it, dreams. No one needs to witness for it to be beautiful. Sometimes, the most breathtaking auroras arrive while people sleep. Curtains of green shimmer across the stars. Violet fingers reach across the horizon, and the world beneath remains quiet. Doors closed, lights off, no footsteps in the snow. And that's okay. The aurora is not a spectacle that demands company. It is not diminished by our absence, like music played in an empty room or wind through the branches of an unvisited forest. Its magic is not dependent on being seen. Somewhere, someone is dreaming under those lights, maybe of stars, maybe of waves, maybe of nothing at all. And the aurora glows above them as if tucking them in, a lullaby written in charged particles and magnetic fields. There's a kind of peace in knowing that beauty doesn't pause for sleep, that even as we rest, the world continues creating, shining, unfolding. The aurora's presence is enough. Its gift is not in being watched, but in simply being. So tonight, if you sleep through a sky filled with color, let it be a comfort, not a loss. Know that while you dreamed, the earth and sun were dancing, and even if you missed the steps, you were still wrapped in the rhythm. And maybe, somewhere deep in your dream, you saw it, after all, green on top of violet, red chasing blue, a vertical rainbow in motion. The aurora does not move like water or fire. It moves like breath, like emotion, layered, subtle, flowing in slow spirals and sudden flares. What the eye captures in a single glance is only a fraction of its depth. Each color in the aurora is a voice, oxygen speaking in green and red, nitrogen whispering in blue and violet. The altitude shapes the tone, the energy shapes the hue. Together, they form something alive, something textured and rich, a song you see instead of hear. These layers are not always easy to perceive. Sometimes they flash in quick bursts. Sometimes they melt together like paint on glass. But when the sky is quiet and the night is clear, the full chorus arrives. Strata of light, stretching up into the stars like columns in a glowing cathedral. This layered beauty tells a story, not just of particles and fields, but of complexity, of harmony, of how many things must come together for this moment to exist. So watch gently, let your eyes move slowly. The aurora is not a single light, but many woven into one, and even if you only catch a glimpse of one thread, know that beneath it lie countless others, all dancing quietly through the layers of night, in, then out. Light expands, then curls back, a sleeping rhythm overhead. The aurora does not just shine, it breathes, like lungs filling with starlight, like tides pulled not by the moon, but by the sun's whisper. When conditions are just right, the entire sky pulses, a slow inhale of brightness, followed by a soft fading, then again, a heartbeat, but for the heavens. This is not illusion. It is physics, but it feels like something more, as if the sky itself has joined you in sleep. You lie still beneath this rhythm, your breath aligning with the skies, a shared silence, a shared exhale. In that moment, the barrier between you and the cosmos dissolves. You are not just watching, you are part of it. Even if clouds hide the view, the pulse continues above. Invisible, yes, but no less real. The atmosphere hums, the magnetosphere stirs, and the aurora, like a dream, expands and contracts in gentle cycles. Let yourself fall into that rhythm. Let it slow your thoughts, your heartbeat, your sense of time. There is no rush here, just the quiet breathing of a planet and its sky. You are safe in that breath, cradled by light, rocked by motion, too slow to chase, too ancient to fear. Just breathe. The sky is breathing with you. Some animals detect light beyond human vision. Their skies may glow with colors we'll never name, while we see green, pink, and red curtains curling across the northern sky. Birds may be watching an entirely different symphony, hues in ultraviolet, whispers of radiation that our eyes cannot grasp. Imagine a robin perched beneath the same sky, its vision tuned to light that stretches past our visible edge. What appears as soft shimmer to us might be a kaleidoscope of impossible gradients. To them, their eyes, evolved to navigate migration and magnetic fields, are shaped by a world of signals we barely understand. And it's not just birds. Other creatures, too, live in layered skies. Some insects see polarized light. Some mammals detect infrared warmth. We live in the same world, but not in the same light. This thought isn't meant to make us feel small. It's meant to make us feel connected. Just as the aurora we see is only part of the story, so too is everything we experience. There are layers beyond us always. And maybe that's a comfort, to know that the world holds more than we can see, that the aurora doesn't belong only to us, but to all eyes beneath its glow. Some stories are written in colors we will never name, but they are still stories. And tonight, even if you can't see it all, you're part of that unseen beauty, gently watching, quietly glowing, alongside the creatures that see more than we do. It flickers, then it's gone. No sound, no scent, no residue, just memory. The aurora leaves no trace on the trees, no warmth on the stones, no imprint on the snow. It dances in absolute silence and disappears without apology. You could stand beneath it for hours, feeling the sky breathe around you. And the next morning, nothing. Not even a footprint in the air. And that is what makes it feel like a dream. Something remembered more by the heart than the mind. A moment that lingers not in space, but in your internal landscape. The aurora is made of collision and energy, of sun and magnetosphere, but it feels like it's made of longing. Because it doesn't stay, it cannot be held. You do not leave with a token, only with a feeling. Maybe that's why people travel so far to see it, why they brave cold nights and wide skies, not to take something home, but to feel something fleeting, to be changed by a beauty that doesn't mark the earth, but softly etches itself into the quiet places of the soul. So if you've ever seen it, even once, it's still with you. Not as proof, but as presence, a glow behind your eyelids, a hush that lives in your breath. And if you haven't yet, don't worry. The memory of it can live inside you even before it arrives. That's the gift of something that leaves no trace. It makes space inside us instead. It begins far away, then drifts across space, a long journey for a quiet arrival. The solar wind, a stream of charged particles, escapes the sun's outer atmosphere and begins a slow, invisible voyage, not in a roar, but a whisper that takes days to reach us. It moves through silence, past planets and dust, guided by the invisible lanes of the solar system. And when it arrives at Earth, it doesn't crash, it brushes, it stirs the magnetic field, it bends around the poles, and only then does it begin to sing in color. There is patience in this process, a kind of cosmic grace. The sun's breath takes its time, and we, small as we are, wait below, unaware, most days, that space is flowing through us, that the sky above is not just air and clouds, but a moving sea of particles shaped by light years and gravity. The aurora is the end of that journey, the final moment when something ancient and distant makes contact, not to hurt, not to change, just to show. And it shows gently in shifting green and soft violet, as if to say, I made it all this way. So tonight, if you feel far from things, remember that even the solar wind, born in fire, takes its time, that distance doesn't mean absence, that quiet arrivals are still meaningful, and that beauty often comes at the end of long travels. Particles collide with atoms. Energy shifts, and somehow out comes color. The aurora is the result of countless small impacts, solar particles dancing with Earth's atmosphere. When they meet, there is no explosion, no flash that breaks the night, just a quiet transformation. Electrons move, light is born, and what had been invisible becomes a ribbon of green, a wave of red, a flicker of blue at the edge of the world. This is the alchemy of the sky. Violence turned to poetry, motion turned to glow. We tend to think of collisions as destruction, things breaking, shattering, ending. But the aurora reminds us that contact can also be creation, that when two forces meet gently with the right balance, they can make something luminous. You are watching physics, yes, but you are also watching a metaphor for how all things come together. The aurora is not made by solitude, it is made by interaction, by exchange. The earth opens its field, the sun sends its breath, and between them a curtain of color is born, no louder than a thought. So as you watch or dream or imagine, let this thought settle with you. Beauty is not always made by stillness. Sometimes it's the result of two things meeting, not to overpower, but to merge. Let your memories be auroras. Let your collisions be soft. Let everything you've touched, and that has touched you, leave light behind. Even when expected, it startles. The sky does not often show emotion. We spend our lives beneath it, calm, vast, often empty. And then suddenly, without warning, it feels alive. A burst of green over the trees, a flicker of red on the horizon. It's like the sky has decided to whisper in color. And no matter how many forecasts you've read or apps you've checked, it still takes your breath. There's something primal about it, to see the heavens shift, not in storm or fire, but in beauty, to feel the overhead world ripple with light. And it always feels personal, as if the moment was meant for you. Even in a crowd, even surrounded by cameras and chatter, there's a hush that falls when the aurora begins. Time stretches, the cold disappears, your heart becomes still. That's the surprise, not just the appearance, but the feeling that something so immense could feel so intimate, that something caused by sun and space could speak directly to the quiet inside you. So let yourself be surprised. Let yourself be small under it. The aurora doesn't need your understanding, only your presence. Stand there, lie there, watch, or close your eyes and trust it's still dancing. You don't have to expect it to be moved by it. And when it arrives, let it catch you. Let it remind you that even the most predictable things can still be wonderful. Even the sky, which rarely shows emotion, has its soft outbursts. Let this be one. From space, the aurora forms glowing rings, halos that shimmer silently around the poles. Satellites orbit far above the noise of Earth, watching these soft loops of energy unfurl in the high atmosphere like petals in a breeze. Seen from above, the lights are not just vertical curtains. They are circular, encircling the magnetic poles like whispered crowns of flame. What we see from the ground is only a sliver of their geometry. Up there, the aurora becomes something more, a structure, a system, a breath. Instruments aboard satellites can measure this glow in wavelengths invisible to our eyes, tracing the quiet signatures of particles colliding and dancing. These observations are not loud. There are no booms or flashes, just steady, silent recordings of light and motion. As you lie here, know that above you, in the soft hush of orbit, there are machines watching the night bloom in color. And though you may not see the whole shape, your place beneath it is real. You are held in the loop of Earth's energy, cradled in its magnetic field. Let that imagined view from above quiet you, the swirling ring of aurora, circling gently like a halo that needs no witness. Above clouds, above weather, beyond sound, a silent wreath of light that knows the shape of your planet better than any map. Sleep now, knowing that above you, beauty traces its quiet orbit again and again, just for the sake of wonder. Oxygen sings green at one height, red at another. Nitrogen adds its violet whisper. The aurora is a song of chemistry and altitude, a glowing conversation between the sky and the particles that travel through it. At lower altitudes, oxygen glows a brilliant green, the most familiar hue to those who watch the lights dance. But climb higher, where the air is thinner and colder, and that same oxygen begins to radiate a deep, ghostly red. It is not a change in intent, only in the space it occupies. Nitrogen joins in as well, painting the edges in blues and purples, shades that flicker and shift depending on temperature, on pressure, on the silence of the air. These colors don't blend like paint. They layer, ripple, cascade. Sometimes a green wave rides above a violet foundation. Other times, red trails like a curtain over blue. The sky becomes a living watercolor, every hue a result of invisible factors aligning just so. You cannot predict it fully, you cannot replicate it exactly, and so every aurora is its own unrepeatable moment. Tonight, as you rest, know that the light above is not just beauty, it's science rendered poetic. It is a chemical symphony played in darkness, shaped by altitude and energy. You may never see the same show twice, but that's the wonder of it. Let it wash over your thoughts. Let the unseen chemistry of the sky soften your breath. This is color born of collision and calm. Even early humans knew to look up. The lights were not new, only newly named. Before language carved out the world, before science gave its patient explanations, people watched the sky bloom. They didn't need to know about solar winds or magnetic fields. They only needed to feel the hush in their chests when the heavens shimmered. Imagine those first nights. A flicker at the edge of a campfire, a ribbon of green weaving silently overhead, a red glow pulsing like heartlight across the stars. These were not things to be ignored. They were messages or mysteries or memories in motion, carved into stone, whispered in story, painted onto walls with pigments mixed from soil and fire. The aurora became myth, became music, became the breath of gods or ancestors or the sky itself. Across cultures and continents, people gave the lights names, gave them meaning, and even now, with all we know, with satellites and spectrometers, the wonder hasn't dulled. The feeling is still there, that same quiet awe, that same pause in the chest. So, as you rest tonight, you are part of a long, unbroken line of watchers and dreamers, people who tilted their heads skyward and whispered nothing at all, just letting the beauty pass through them. The lights do not need to be understood to be loved. They have always been there, and tonight they are here for you too, ancient, silent, and still unfolding, like tides, or wind, or waves. It is Earth's quiet exhale into the night sky. The aurora is not just a spectacle. It is a process, a rhythm, a release. The Earth does not shout when it breathes. It glows. As the solar wind brushes past our magnetic field, energy collects, coils, and finally releases, not as sound, not as force, but as light. The poles, where the field is open and welcoming, become the lungs of the planet, releasing this light upward into space. It is not violence. It is not danger. It is respiration. You can think of the aurora as the sky's sigh, a deep, slow breath after holding something in. There's a kind of serenity to it, a regularity shaped by cycles in the sun, in the wind, in the magnetosphere, and you are within this breath, sleeping, dreaming, breathing in, rhythm with a planet that knows how to exhale, no matter where you are, city or forest, tundra or coast, you're under the same sky, you share its breath, so rest here in the inhale. Let your own lungs slow, let your chest rise and fall, like the waves, like the breeze, like the faint shimmer of color above the poles. You don't need to see the aurora to feel it. It is already part of your night, a lightfall carried on Earth's silent exhale, soft as a lullaby, steady as your own sleeping rhythm. But here, tonight, it's not a storm. It's a cradle, a lullaby, a lightfall. Scientists might call it a geomagnetic disturbance, a space weather storm caused by solar particles colliding with our upper atmosphere. But those terms, while accurate, miss something essential. They do not describe the feeling, the softness, the way the light moves like silk caught in a breeze, like breath folding into sleep. When you lie beneath the aurora, you don't sense chaos, You sense rhythm, a pulsing, a presence. The particles arriving from the sun traveled for days, journeying through silence, through void, only to arrive here, gently, invisibly, and kiss the sky into color. That's not a storm, that's a story, and you are inside it. Maybe you're not standing in snow under an Arctic sky. Maybe the lights are happening far away. But even now, they fold their arms around the planet, wrapping us in a veil of glowing calm. Let go of the term weather. Let go of the word storm. Tonight, there is only light. There is only stillness. The sky is not angry. It is humming. And as you breathe, let that hum carry you deeper. Into sleep, into softness, into something that does not ask to be understood, just witnessed, or simply felt. The aurora is a lullaby sung in light, and tonight it sings just for you. You don't have to choose. Let the science be the music, and the color be the song. In the aurora, there is no conflict between equations and wonder. The same magnetic field lines that guide electrons also guide the rhythm of the sky's dance. The same collisions that release photons are the ones that light up your breath with awe. Physics explains the how, the solar wind, the magnetosphere, the altitude-specific emissions, but poetry lives in the why it feels like a dream, why it still silences a crowd, why we hold our breath at the edge of green flame. The aurora is a textbook and a lullaby, a calculation and a prayer. You don't have to understand every formula to feel the grace of light slipping across the stars. And you don't have to dismiss the science to marvel at its choreography. Let the diagrams draw their elegant paths. Let the metaphors bloom like petals. They belong together, like melody and harmony, like sunrise and time. As you lie beneath the sky, you're not asked to explain it. You're only asked to feel it. And in that feeling, both physics and poetry are at home. The universe did not choose one over the other when it made the aurora, and neither should you. Let the numbers hold hands with the starlight. Let the data hum beneath the hush. Here, in this moment, the whole story is yours to drift through. Glowing, glowing, gone. Somewhere in your lineage, someone looked up and paused. That stillness is in your bones. Long before satellites and forecasts, long before cities clouded the sky, your ancestors stood beneath these same shifting lights. Maybe they were hunters on tundra, wrapped in furs and frost. Maybe they were wanderers, sleeping beneath open skies. Whoever they were, whatever their names, they stopped moving when the aurora began. They felt that ancient hush, the one that asks nothing but attention, and they watched as green fire arced over them. Their stories, passed down in whispers or carved into bark, carried the wonder forward through generations, through silence, through time. You are part of that chain. Your blood remembers the pause. Your breath knows the rhythm. Even if you've never seen the lights yourself, the awe they bring is woven into your being, a kind of quiet inheritance. Tonight, as you rest, imagine them, your distant kin, still and small beneath a sky so vast it seemed to speak. You are not so far from them. You carry the same stardust, the same questions, the same capacity for wonder. Let that connect you. Let it settle into your bones like warmth. You are not alone in your marveling. Others came before you. Others will come after. And always, always, the sky will bloom in color above them. And you, with no need for words, only stillness. Each particle falls, glows, and is gone. Light is the way matter says farewell. When the solar wind arrives, it does not stay. It touches the sky briefly, dances for a breath, then vanishes. The particles collide with atoms high above us, give off a moment of radiance, and are never seen again. Their journey ends in beauty. Their ending is a light show. That's what you see when you look up, not just energy, but a release, a relinquishing, a quiet goodbye written in green and red and violet. It's easy to think of the aurora as something beginning, a spectacle, a burst, but it is also something ending. The end of a journey from the sun across millions of miles, the end of motion, the end of charge, the final act of a particle's long drift through space. And yet, in that ending, it becomes something luminous, something shared, something that softens the night. Let that be a comfort to you, that even endings can be beautiful, that even a falling thing can write a poem across the dark. You too have moments that flicker and vanish, thoughts, days, seasons, and yet they mean something. They glow. As you rest now, imagine those lights saying their farewells, softly, gently, with no regret. Just release, just light. Let them go. Let yourself go. You are not fading. You are glowing just for a moment. In the great goodbye of the sky, a new color, a new shimmer, light meeting atmosphere for the very first time. Though the aurora marks the end of a particle's journey, it also marks the beginning of something else, a meeting, a transformation, a revelation. That brief collision between energy and air births something entirely new, a color that didn't exist before, a glow that had never touched that patch of sky. Each flicker is our first time. Each wave of light is a birth. And so, even as things vanish, other things arrive. New patterns emerge. New pulses ripple out. The aurora doesn't just say goodbye. It says hello to a new shade of green no one has ever seen in quite that way. Hello to a curtain that unfurls like a secret. Hello to the feeling you didn't expect, the wonder you forgot you could feel. As you lie here, breathing slowly, let the sky greet you. Let it introduce you to this moment, this night, this softness. You've never lived this exact minute before. You've never seen this version of yourself. Even in your stillness, you're becoming something new. Let the aurora remind you of that. It's not just an ending, it's a beginning. And beginnings, however quiet, are worth noticing. So say hello back. Whisper it if you want, or say nothing. The sky hears you either way. It always does. Above, something moves. Not watching, but present. Not waiting, but real. The aurora doesn't have eyes. It doesn't think or choose or speak. But still, when you look up, something within you responds. A feeling of not being entirely alone, of being part of something vast and alive. The lights ripple and your heart slows. They shimmer and your breath deepens. It's not about being observed. It's about belonging, about knowing that high above the world's noise and gravity, there is motion, there is rhythm, and that rhythm includes you. The aurora doesn't perform for you. It just is. And in its being, you feel connected. The same solar wind that touches the poles also brushes against your thoughts. You don't need to understand it. You only need to feel the hush, the pause, the sense that this universe is not cold and empty, but luminous and shared. So tonight, even if you're far from snow or stars, let that feeling settle in your chest. You are not the only one awake. The sky is moving. The particles are singing. The earth is exhaling. You are held in a net of presence, even in the dark. Let it comfort you. Let it hold you. Let it remind you that even in stillness, even in sleep, you are part of a glowing whole, not alone, never alone. not under this sky. Our star speaks in particles. The aurora is the Earth's quiet reply. Every flare, every stream of solar wind is like a breath from the sun reaching out across the void. And Earth, ever gentle, doesn't answer in noise or heat, but in color. A ripple of green, a shimmer of red, a curl of violet. It is the most delicate of conversations. Invisible lines, magnetic field lines, carry the energy downward, guiding charged particles to the poles. There, in silence, Earth responds, not with words, but with light. This conversation began long before we existed. It will continue long after we are gone. And yet, tonight, you are part of it. Lying here, still and listening, you are included in the dialogue. The sun, millions of miles away, touches your atmosphere, and your world replies not with resistance, but with beauty. That alone is worth pausing for. That alone is worth remembering. You are living on a planet that speaks back to its star, not in defense, but in radiance. Let that soften your breath. Let it widen your sense of belonging. You are not just on Earth. You are within it, part of its motion, part of its voice. And in this quiet hour, as particles fall and the sky glows, you are witnessing an ancient bond, a pulse of energy, a sigh of color, a slow and silent connection between home and source. The sun calls, the earth answers, and you, somewhere in between, are held. Every 11 years, the sun shifts, more flares, more storms, more light in the sky. It's called the solar cycle, a rhythm older than our instruments, older than most of our history. The sun, though constant to the naked eye, pulses with invisible change. Its magnetic fields twist and tangle. Its surface crackles with growing intensity. And then, when the cycle peaks, it releases more of itself into the space around it. These bursts and waves of particles toward Earth, like ripples from a distant drum. And when they arrive, the sky brightens. Auroras bloom farther and stronger, visible in places that rarely see them. It's not chaos, it's rhythm. Even the sun breathes in cycles, and Earth, like a tuned drumhead, resonates in return. Right now, the cycle is climbing. Right now, the lights may be coming closer to you. But even in the quieter years, the memory lingers. The shape of past storms, the colors that once danced. Let that remind you, light isn't random. Beauty has patterns. Even the cosmos has seasons. You are living within them, not outside them. So rest tonight in that gentle cadence. Trust the long rhythms, trust the pulses, and know that what you see above, those drifting curtains, those sudden spirals, are not just chance. They are part of a deeper timing. The sky is moving with the sun, and you too are moving with it, carried on a cycle older than words, older than time. Science builds quieter instruments, eyes that see deeper, ears that hear in particles. We are no longer just watching the sky. We are listening to it, feeling its pulses in the magnetic field, tracking its dances with satellites and sensors that float far above us. We are learning to read the aurora, not just as a wonder, but as a message. Each flicker contains data. Each shimmer tells of velocity, of energy, of arrival time. Solar storms announce themselves in subtle ways, and we, ever more patient, are learning to notice. A spacecraft drifting in the solar wind can now whisper back what it finds. A radio telescope on a polar plateau can catch a faint echo. Even the very ground hums when the sky sings. And our instruments now hear that song. But there is poetry here too. These machines, however advanced, are just extensions of our wonder. We made them not just to explain, but to stay connected, to see farther, to marvel longer. And even with all this knowledge, with all this quiet listening, the mystery remains. The lights still astonish, the colors still surprise, the science deepens, but the awe doesn't fade. So rest tonight, in that space between knowing and feeling. The data will come, the patterns will sharpen, but the beauty, the hush, is already here, and your heart, no less than a satellite, knows how to listen, knows how to feel, knows how to wait in the glow. Not enough to feel, but still, those particles brush the edges of your world. The aurora is far above you, hundreds of kilometers high, and yet it touches you, not with heat, not with pressure, but with presence. The light you see is born from collisions in the upper atmosphere, but the energy that causes it, that came from beyond, from the sun's surface, from the solar wind, from a flare that happened days ago, that energy has arrived. It has completed its journey. And now, as it releases its color into the night, it brushes your world. The sky does not end above your head. It envelops you. The aurora is not just above, it's around. Its particles may not pierce your skin, but they touch your moment, your breath, your night. You may not feel the impact, but your body knows the rhythm. Your bones, tuned to Earth's magnetic field, hum a little differently when the sky glows. There is no need to measure. There is only need to feel, to lie still, to notice. So let the lights wash over you, even from afar. Let them remind you that you are not separate from space, not sheltered from the cosmos. You are in it, part of it, brushing back as the sky brushes you. And even if you can't feel the touch, let yourself believe in it. Let it be enough to know you're being kissed by the quiet edge of the universe. The same atoms that glow above once drifted here too. You are aurora and earth and dream, resting in the gentle pull of night. The oxygen that sings in green once floated in ancient skies. The nitrogen that breathes, violet, once moved through leaves, through lungs, through rain. These are not foreign lights. They are kin. The aurora does not perform for you. It reveals something shared, something old, something true. The very particles that write those arcs of color may have danced near your skin long ago, or may do so again long after tonight. And you, too, are made of such dust. Stardust, yes, earth dust, sky breath. The same story told in different forms. The lights above are not just beautiful. They are familiar. You know them in a way. Not by name, but by feeling. Not by sight, but by stillness. You are resting beneath yourself in a way, watching another version of your atoms glow. So let that comfort you. Let that remind you that even the heavens are not strangers, that the cosmos has touched you, shaped you, and still remembers. You are not just under the aurora, you are of it. You belong to this glowing night, to this breathing planet, to this silent connection between light and sleep and memory. So close your eyes now, knowing you are held. You are part of the sky's story. And somewhere it is still unfolding, in green whispers, in quiet flares, in the soft rhythm of your own exhale.